Hello, Julie Chance with Action Strategies by Design, and this is Teambuilder Tips Tuesday. This week's tip: help team members develop healthy responses to conflict. Conflict on teams is normal, and it's necessary to achieving full potential. The key is how team members respond to conflict. Are their responses healthy and productive, or unhealthy and counterproductive? We can use cognitive behavioral theory to better understand and more resourcefully deal with conflict. Here's how it works. There's a situation. It could be somebody looks at somebody, what they interpret to be a little bit funny, or they say something that triggers a response in the other person. And what happens is, whatever that situation is, it triggers an automatic thought. And that automatic thought, something like, he's trying to make me look bad, or she always downplays any of my ideas. You know, that anytime there's an always or a never, it can be an indication that it's a automatic thought that's not going to lead to real resourceful behaviors. Then the next thing that happens is we have an emotional or a negative emotion. That thought triggers that negative emotion, which leads to an unhealthy conflict behavior. Unhealthy behaviors might be lashing out, might be snapping at somebody, it might be retreating, it might be acting in a passive-aggressive manner. Any of those and a lot of others that I'm sure come to mind for you are unhealthy conflict behaviors. And here's what we can do to transform those unhealthy behaviors to healthy behaviors. A situation occurs, same thing as before. We have an automatic thought and a negative emotion. All that's the same. We can't really change that from happening. What we can do, though, is we can step back, we can take a moment and respond rather than react. And to do that, we reframe the situation. And some ways to reframe are to ask questions like, is that really true? What else could be true? And the trick to this is to list all of those things, or to help your team member that you're working with list all of those things that could be true, even if they don't totally believe it. Another question to ask is, will it matter in 5? Will it matter in 5 minutes, 5 hours, 5 days, 5 weeks, 5 months, 5 years? In other words, are we making a mountain out of a molehill? So once we've reframed, then we can have a more neutral emotion, and we can get back to thinking and processing out of our executive brain, and we can use a more healthy behavior, like asking a couple of questions, or stating the impact that the comment had on us, or fully listening to somebody's explanation. All of those are healthy behaviors to conflict. So here's what I'd encourage you to do, and you may want to do this with your team, is think about, what are your typical, for each of you, and everybody has a typical go-to response, unhealthy response to conflict. What's a typical response that you might have? Is it fighting? Is it flighting? Is it appeasing? Is it freezing? Or a behavior related to one of those things? What is a typical one that you or your team member might have? And then think about, what would be a more productive behavior? Having a discussion, listening, stating your own feelings or the impact that something had on you or your team. All of those are going to be healthier. So if you can engage in that dialogue and debate rather than reacting, that it'll be a healthier response. So try that with your team the next time you or one of your team members engages in a negative or an unhealthy response to conflict.